to part two of Pesach Seder prep. Passover is coming, and we all want to be prepared. Last week, we spoke of all the prep that you have to do beforehand. The cleaning, the cooking, the checking for the chametz, burning of the chametz, and all the things that are necessary that we can come to Seder night. Seder nights. That's what we're going to speak about tonight. How do we make a proper Seder? How to make it meaningful? We're going to go through some of the messages, the meaning behind the Pesach Seder and the various things. We'll do that next week. This week is going to be technical to make certain that when we come to the Seder, we know what we're supposed to do and how to do it properly. Okay. Now, even if you're not making your own Seder and you are going to someone else, of course, if you're aware of what's going on, you'll be able to do things more appropriately. So, without any further ado, let's get into the Seder. I'm going to share the screen with the Haggadah. And if you have your own Haggadah, wonderful. You can follow. Okay. Some of the things that you're going to need before the Seder, so you need some prep before, of course. 4 cups of wine or grape juice that you need to drink. So make sure you have enough wine. There is a custom, it's a Chabad custom to drink the full cup of wine. And that might be a lot after a few cups. So one of two things, either you can get a low alcohol level, or you can mix it with grape juice. Okay? Or you can mix it with grape juice. But you have to have enough for 4 cups. You have to fill the cup. It's a mitzvah to have a cup, that's full. And the cup needs to hold has to hold minimally 3.1 ounces minimally. Well, it's hard to find such a small cup, the truth is. 5 ounces, good. If you drink from it, half of it, that's also good in order to fulfill the mitzvahs. As we know, all mitzvahs have a time limitation and a time and space, and a space limitation. So you have to drink it within a certain time, and you have to have a certain amount. So when it comes to drinking the 4 cups, we do not sip it. There's even a mystical idea. Did you drink the whole cup in one, I would say in one downing, because that's a bit difficult, but quick, mystically, but minimally, at least, it should be done all at one time. And how do you drink the wine? Reclining. That's important. Reclining on your left side. So either you move the chair so you're on your with it leaning on the back of the chair, or you could just go like that, move over to the side. That's also sufficient. Okay, on the left side, not on the right side. The reason for that is that that's a symbol of freedom, because that's how the kings of yore, they used to lie down to engage in eating and drinking. Kings of yore. Okay. Now,
Rabbi, I have a question. Sorry.
yes, go ahead.
This leaning, is it only done for the cup of wine, or other items in the Seder as well?
We'll get to that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sure, thank you.
All 4 cups of wine you need to lean. If you're going to drink wine during the Seder, during the meal, you don't have to lean. But for the 4 mitzvah
Uh-huh.
cups, you have to.
Thank you.
Okay, those 4 cups, right? It's not
Sure.
just that. We'll see. We'll get into more in a moment. Okay,
Okay, Rabbi. Thank you.
sure. Now, then you of course have to have matzah, and preferably you should have shmura matzah for the mitzvah of eating matzah. We'll get into that more later. Okay, so make sure you have that shmura matzah. Then you need azroya. Azroya is Chabad custom is we use a neck of a chicken. Use a neck of a chicken instead of the bone shank. But yeah, I mean that's again the Chabad custom. To use a bone shank, that's also good. Okay, that needs to be prepared. Then you need an egg, a hard-boiled egg. And all these things should be done on the eve, at least, of the holiday. So you have this all prepared for the holiday. Hard-boiled eggs. And we'll get to the Seder plate and I'll show you everything. But in the meantime, then you need mara chazeres, which a bitter vegetable. The Chabad custom is to use romaine lettuce and or horseradish. We use a combo of both. Those who are male, who have the strength, I give a little more horseradish. Females, I give a little less, unless they want more. Right? Leah, you need something? Leah? No, she needs some help. Thank you, though. So you need to have enough mortar. So you need enough romaine lettuce for everybody that's going to be there, which is 1.22 ounces, 34 grams per person. Then you need charoisis. Charoisis is made from crushed apple, pear, walnuts, and wine. Okay. We dip into the charoisis. We'll go into that. Right? But that needs to be prepared beforehand, the charoisis. Karpas, different customs with that. Chabad custom is to use this little piece of onion. Okay. Some people use parsley or celery, carrot stick, or a cooked potato. All those things need to be prepared beforehand so you have it for the Seder. Okay. Now, of course, when the holiday enters, you make the blessings. The woman of the house makes the blessings over the candles, and the bracha is lahadlik ner Yom Tov. This year we don't have Shabbos, right? So it's just Yom Tov, and we make a Shechianu, thanking Hashem to coming to this time. Okay, let's go to the Seder plate. So right here we have number 1 on the right side at the top. You have the zroya. That's where we put the. Now, okay, actually, before the Seder plate, you put 3 matzahs. The bottom matzah is Israel. Middle matzah is Levi, and the higher one is Kohen. Right, representing the 3 different types of Jews: Kohen, Levi, Israel. So you place those. Now, the Chabad custom is that the matzah has to be complete, not a broken matzah, right? A whole matzah. The shmura matzah, the hand-baked shmura matzah, of course. And even the Chabad custom is to make him a little concave. Concave makes it somewhat into a vessel. It's not going to be a vessel like this, but it's going to be some, you can find some matzahs that are a little like this. You see the shape over here, right? Concave. So if you look at Kohen, Levi, Israel, it spells the word kli. Kli means vessel. So the matzahs are a vessel. And they're a vessel if you take the acronym of Kohen Levi Israel, it's my son-in-law and his brothers. And you take the acronym backwards is Yelech, means movement. They're a family of chazonim, beautiful voices. Yeah.
Baruch Hashem.
Yeah. So we have the three matzahs, then on top of it, you have the Seder plate. See over here, the Seder plate. On the right top corner is the shank bone, if you will, or called zroya, right? The zroya, again, whether it's a shank bone, Chabad customs use the gorgel, the neck of a chicken. Our custom is also to take off the meat from it, because this represents the Paschal lamb offering, and the Paschal lamb offering is something we don't have today, so we take off the meat just to, as a reminder, we can't eat it, right? And also, this is broiled, not baked. It's broiled, because the Paschal lamb offering had to be on a spitfire, right? It wasn't cooked. It wasn't cooked. Couldn't be through any liquid. So the way we prepare this is by broiling it in your oven. Okay. Number two on the other side is a beitza. Beitza is a hard-boiled egg. This represents the korban chagiga, the holiday offering. Chagiga means chag. Chag means holiday, right? So it's the korban sacrifice, the holiday sacrifice, meaning every holiday you bring a holiday sacrifice, right? This is the korban Pesach that's brought on the eve of Pesach, right? And this is on the holiday. Okay, we're good. Number three in the middle is maror. Maror, the bitter herbs, again, romaine lettuce, and horseradish. So on the Seder plate, I would put like two and a half leaves of romaine lettuce, depending on the size of it, together with some horseradish. Okay, as a combo, that's what I would do. Okay. Then number four over here is charoisis. Charoisis was that mixture was made from almonds, pears, and apples, right? You mix it, you either crush it with a fork if you want, or you can put it in your blender, right? And by the Seder, you add the wine to it. But that's a mixture. That represents the bricks that the Jews had to make. You add it on at the time of the Seder, like when you're making your Seder plate, right? Or actually, even before, yeah. Okay. Number five is the karpas. That is the dippable veggie. Again, Chabad custom primarily is onion. It could be potato, a boiled potato, and it's a little piece, not a big piece of onion, for sure not, and not even a big piece of less than 3 ounces. That's for sure. Then finally we have number 6 over here. That's a chazeris. Chazeris is also romaine lettuce with horseradish. This is made for what we call the sandwich. This is the sandwich that is made after we eat matzah, then we eat bitter herbs, and then we make the korach, the korach, the sandwich, which is matzah with the romaine and horseradish. Okay, that's all on the Seder plate. And here also it's going to be like 2 leaves and some horseradish, as much horseradish you can. Now the horseradish, the way we do it, we don't take the bottled stuff. We get actually the root, and before the holiday we grind it. put into your what's it called? Not blender, food
Food
processor. Yes,
processor.
thank you, food processor. Exactly.
Rabbi, we're looking
Yes.
forward to having your horseradish. And by the way, in Persian, number six, chazeret, we say chazarat
Aha.
for
Okay.
greens. Yeah,
Very good.
thank you.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. So now, so this is Seder plate. Now, there has to be at least one Seder plate for the Seder. There is a custom that, men will have their own. It doesn't, you know, sometimes a little daunting because it's, covers a lot of space. But, there is such a custom, especially if it's married people that have their own family, like, families come together. So then, the married man is going to have for his family. Okay. Any questions on the Seder plate? That clear?
Rabbi Davida had a question on
Yes.
the Zoom chat. It's we roast it.
I
Is that
don't I don't
okay?
see it. So you tell me. Go ahead.
Sure. For the chicken's neck, it was said that we roast it. Is that okay?
No, I said that before. We roast it. Yeah. You put it under the yeah, you put it under the broiler in your oven. You don't have to roast it like on a barbecue. You can put it into your oven and put it under broil, right? Broil is the top element, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what we do. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Also, if I can say something about charosis, there's several different ones. Like there's an Iraqi one with the dates and different
Yes, exactly.
delicious versions of charosis that are different than what we're used to in the States. It's
Right. So I would suggest that, you know, keep with what your tradition is. If you're Iraqi, do the Iraqi one, right? If you're Ashkenaz, do the Ashkenaz one. If you're from Morocco, do the Morocco one, if that's your custom. It's very important that we keep our traditions, our customs, and not to change. One year let me try this way, another year I'll try another way. That's not a person who's rooted in tradition, right? So I'm giving you the Chabad customs. You're right. Thank you, at least for sharing. There are many different customs, right? Absolutely. There's Chabad, there's Ashkenaz, there's Sephardic, there's Moroccan, there's Iraqi, like you said, and each one there'll be a nuance of a distinction, and in particular by the Haraisis, right? Because yes, you're right. They use dates, and I'm trying to think what you mentioned, right? But yeah, beautiful. Okay, now we go after you make the Seder plate. That's the first thing. And then we go and I get everybody to say together, and maybe let's all do it together. We have it in front of us. You see it in the screen, you have it in Hebrew, and you have it the transliteration. Let's say it together. Kadesh Urchatz Karpas Ya'achatz Ma'agid Rachza Umaitzi Matzah Maror Kairech Shulchan Oirech Tzafan Peirah Hallel Nirtzah. That's the 15 levels order. Seder means order. This is the order right here. So you give it
Wow.
at the beginning. Kiddush on wine, wash your hands, no bracha, eat a vegetable, break a matzah, tell the story, wash hands for a bracha, for a motzi, blessing on the matzah, blessing on the mitzvah, bitter leaves for eating, bitter in wrapping. Now it's time for eating. Now it's time for drinking. Iti afikoman. Thank God for everything. Praise God for his wonders. He accepts despite our blunders. Finished. Okay, you can all go home now. That's the short version. That's the short version. As they called it back in the day, the Maxwell House instant coffee version. Okay. So that's the way we introduce. We say all the 15 levels. At my table, we sing it together. And, that's the intro. Then we come to Kaddish, kommt daheim von Shul. So, and the first thing is Kiddush, Kaddish, right? Now, what's going to be different about this night is usually I make Kiddush for everybody. I mean, sometimes at my table, other people, Hamid will make, Fabrice will make their own Kiddush, Henry makes his own Kiddush, right? And others, they make their own Kiddush, right? But tonight, actually, everybody. And on the women too. Yeah, the women don't have to make the blessings, actually. They just have to answer Amen. But they have to make they have to have their cup of wine. They have to stand up and then drink their cup of wine when it's finished after they answer Amen. They can, if they want, they could say it together, because this, even though you will be making the blessing on the holiday, right? Make Moirei Pri Hagafim, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher baruch rabanu mikol olam, v'rei mamanu mikol olam, v'kiddushanu b'mitzvos, v'titein lanu Hashem Elokeinu. So this is a blessing for the holiday. It's like on Shabbos, right? The blessing that you make for Shabbos is a blessing for the holiday. Usually the man of the house is going to do it. Maybe others will also do it, but not everybody. But here, everybody has to pour a cup of wine. Now, the Chabad custom, again, this is a Chabad custom, and since you're all Chabad on some level or another, you're all Chabad. That's why I'm going to tell you the Chabad custom, right? But not to confuse it, either with other customs or that it's the only way to do it. But the Chabad custom is that we do not pour wine for another; we pour for ourselves. That's a Chabad custom. There is a custom that you pour for someone else. It's a sign of richness, right? In other words, someone's serving you. And today's this, but for whatever reason, I'm not certain the reason, that is not the Chabad custom. So we pour for ourselves or pour for another. Fill the cup runneth over. The Rebbe, once had his secretary who usually wasn't there Friday night to help. Someone else was in the house helping, but that person wasn't there. So Rabbi Binyamin Klein was there helping, and he poured for the Rebbe wine, like before he came, whatever. He poured for him. That's not that for Kiddush, you could do that, right? But this is not for Pesach. And the Rebbe just stood there, didn't say anything. Then finally, the Rebbe's wife said, the custom is that it should cup runneth over. It should pour until it spills. He was so nervous. He wanted to make sure that it shouldn't, spill the wine, get messy or whatever. No, spill. So, by the way, we have a tradition in the Fine family home that someone's going to spill one of their cups all over the place. Not just a bit, the whole thing. We have such a tradition. What we hope is that the tradition doesn't, and that the wine doesn't end up on your clothes. Sometimes it's hat, and sometimes it just spills on the floor, which is fine. In any case, so we full cup of wine spilling over, men and women. Again, whether the women just answer Amen or say the blessing together, fine. And after you make the blessing on the wine, Borei Pri Hagafen, then you make the blessing sanctifying the day, right? And then you make the bracha Shechianu. Now here, if women already made the Shechianu by lighting the candles, don't make the Shechianu here, right? You can answer Amen to the Shechianu because it's not, that's okay, obviously. But you already did your Shechianu. Shechianu means to thank God for coming to this auspicious time. So, so you can do that. So women should not make that bracha if they lit their candles, which you should light your candles obviously before. And then you had made already your Shechianu for the holiday. Is that clear? Any questions? And then sit down, recline, either move your chair or have the chair already moved on the side so you can recline on the back, or just move to the side. I have a saucer so it doesn't spill all over. Bring it, and I go like pretty quick, according to Kabbalah, but don't make a mess all over. But I say don't make a mess. You know what's going to happen? A mess is going to happen. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't fret. Okay. Any questions on that? Now we come to the second part. Urchatz. Urchatz means to wash. Rachatz. Rechitza. Yeah, it means washing your hands. 3 times the right, 3 times the left. No bracha. If you make a bracha al netilat yadayim, it's a very, very big issue now that you may have to go and make hamotzi lachem min haaretz. So it should not be a blessing in vain. Because you made al netilat yadayim for no reason. The reason you make al netilat yadayim is in order to eat your bread. That means you did that, so be very careful, be very aware. It's really, and by the way, you really have to be aware because we're so used to washing our hands and making the bracha al netilat yadayim, right? And here you're going to do it. So it's important because then it becomes a big, big issue. And you don't want that, of course. Okay. Now, why are you washing your hands? Anybody? Give me one moment. I just want to get some, I need some water. Excuse me. Quite all of a sudden, huh?
Everyone's gone, I think.
Huh?
I think officially everybody is gone.
Oh, yeah, it seems like, that's why I checked the doors locked, so. All right.
Amen.
Speaking about wine, I almost made the bracha on wine. By the way, before I forget, I mentioned it last week, but again, it's really important. I was learning with someone earlier today who has got 3 kids. The oldest, I think, is 5 or 6. And, it's going to be by his mother by a Seder. And the Seder is going to be over before you can really start it because the kids are so young. So the Seder is going to be over by 7:30, 8 o'clock. I told him, you can't do any mitzvahs before that. So I told him, make sure at least you eat your matzah afterwards. Of course, to fulfill the other mitzvahs, you have to do them after not sunset, but nightfall, which is about half an hour after sunset, approximately. So here it'll be around 8:30 in Montreal before you can start the Seder. Just to, it's difficult with young kids. That is for certain. But it is what it is. For those who are in a position that there needs to be something compromising, so minimally eat your hand-baked shmur matzah only after nightfall. And if you could do, and at certain parts of the Haggadah, which I will point out, those parts also do after nightfall. I'll point out later, okay, because it's later. Okay, so Urchatz washing. Why are you washing? Because then you're gonna take your onion or your onion or potato, right? and you're going to dip it into salt water. The reason why you're washing your hands is because dipping into water, we should do it with with clean hands, pure hands. And that's why we wash our hands, because of the salt water, and we dip into it. Why are we doing this? Anybody?
Why are we dipping in the salt water?
Yeah. Is that your hors d'oeuvres that you usually give in Europe? And when you serve dinner, so it's not. Malka doesn't give, what kind of a household do you have? You don't give a piece of onion and salt water by every meal.
Is the saltwater tears, is it supposed to be about tears? I just remember that from, Sunday school.
Correctement. Yes, but why are we doing this? That's what it represents. Why are we dipping anything into salt water? You know why? Because you don't do it a whole year, this thing. And the reason why you're doing it now, it's for on a simple level, is just, and today I'm just going to, give the simple level. Next week, we'll go into more deeper appreciation, but simply to come to the Manishtana. Why is this night different than all other nights? In other words, to do something that's off the charts. You don't do that. That's never done. Malka never invited people over to our house and gave that. My wife never did that either. Look at that. You have something in common. But Pesach night, we do it. So then we would ask the Manishtana. In other words, we do things different on this night in order to arouse question in the child. Because the Torah speaks about, we're going to get to the 4 children the Torah speaks about. And the Torah speaks about that this is one of the mitzvahs, which we're going to get into in a few moments. All right, one of the main mitzvahs. But this is to arouse curiosity. Then we go to Yachatz, we break the middle matzah. Which one is the middle matzah? In the middle. Hey.
The levy.
The levy, exactly. The levy is the middle matzah, right? You break it. Why do you break it? Well, you break it, the bigger half will be put away for afikomen. Chabad custom is to break that bigger part into 5. Kabbalistic reasons, sweetening of severity, 5 severities. So we break it into 5, we put it into plastic bag or whatever, or you put it into ever, and you put it aside because it's going to be eaten at the end of the meal, the afikomen, which is in the place of the Paschal Lamb offering, which is eaten at the end. Okay. So we break that. In the middle matzah, then it's put back. And that gives us now what the Torah calls, and what was this week's, if you recall, this week's Torah portion, the Torah studies class, right? On Sunday night, what was the class about? Lechem oni, poor man's bread. Because what's a poor man's bread? Half a bread, not a whole bread. So we left with half a bread, half a matzah, right? And that's what the story of the Jewish people will be told. Okay, so that's Yachatz. Okay, break the middle matzah. Now, Chabad custom is children do not steal the afikomen from their father, because we don't want to teach them bad habits, even though it's just fun. And even in fun, we don't do such a thing.
I have a question.
Yes.
The matzah has to still be covered when you're breaking it?
No, it doesn't have to. No, it shouldn't, because then you're going to break the other matzah at the same time.
And I'm
You'll end up breaking the other matzah. I mean, you could take out part of it, and if you know how to do it,
okay.
if you know,
But it's not a problem that it's
no, it's not a problem.
and because
That's all.
it's different, obviously, for Holocaust, we should-
Oh, no. Yeah, you don't use anything that has to do with bread, with any chametz during the year. Even if you cleaned it, that you should not use, because remember we learned last week that it could be just a little speck, and a little speck will for sure be on such a thing that you will can't detect, and that is not allowed. That's prohibition. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's breaking the middle matzah. Again, the bigger one for afikomen, we break it into 5. That's Chabad custom. And the smaller piece is lechem oni, is the poor man's bread that goes put back in the middle. For yeah. Then we come Magid. This is the main bulk of the Haggadah. Story time. We come to story time. Magid means to tell the story, right? And we begin with a preface, introductory comment. This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Whoever is hungry, come and eat. Whoever is needy, come and join our Seder. This year we are here, next year in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves, next year we will be free. Okay, that's the introductory, what that means, a deeper understanding next week. And then we come to the Manishtana, the 4 questions. For many, this is the highlight, where the children get to show off everything they've been learning for the last month, the 5-year-old and the 7-year-old, and even the 3-year-old can know some of the Manishtana. It's something that they work in Jewish schools, the kids should have, because it's a beautiful thing around the table. And we start with the youngest, and if kids go around, and then we end up, all of us, we sing together, Man ishtana halayla hazemi kol halaylos. Familiar tune, I'm sure that many of you know for many years. Shebachol halaylos. Now, just to make note over here, Chabad custom is different than Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz starts with matzah. We start with dipping. So I'll give you just a simple reason today, is because that's the first thing that the child sees in the evening. They don't see matzah. I mean, they see the matzah, but you didn't do anything with the matzah. The first thing is you're dipping the karpas in the salt water, right? You're taking that onion and dipping in. That came before. So on a simple level, it's just, that came first. A more profound idea that we'll share next week. All right, so Chabad custom is we also say it in Yiddish. That's beautiful. Was Tate, ich will fragen bei dir 4 kashes. Father, I want to ask by you 4 questions. Was is anders die Nacht von Pesach von alle Nacht von a ganz Jahr? What is different the night of Pesach from all the nights of the rest of the year? And so on. Anyways, it's okay. You don't have to do that.
This is so exciting, Rabbi.
It is.
It's interesting because the traditions, I was not familiar with the Chabad tradition specifically, and they are different, and it is very interesting.
Yeah. And again, whatever tradition that you were either raised with, and that's what and if you weren't raised with a particular tradition, or even if you were, and you feel strongly connected to the Rebbe and Chabad, so you can switch to the Chabad tradition, because there's something unique about a Chabad tradition. It's what's called the Shar HaKelel. It is the all-inclusionary. There's 12 tribes of the Jewish people. At one point, you couldn't marry from one tribe to another by the Israel. You couldn't marry from one, right? In order to keep the custom, in order to keep the land, within the tribe, and to keep, what's unique about that tribe. Afterwards, it was annulled that law, and there was, mixed marriage between tribes. a Polish mit a Russische today, if you will. Um, and the idea behind that is that, everybody has unique traditions. However, there is a 13th level, not a 13th tribe, but a 13th level that encompasses all the tribes. And that is what the Alter Rebbe introduced in his Seder of the Arizal. It is what's called the Shar HaKelel. It's the pathway, the gateway that is all inclusive of all other tribes. So if you're going to do a Chabad custom because you feel strongly connected, of course, and if you're going to do it, even if you're not strongly connected, but there is it is the path that is inclusive of all other paths. Okay. So that's the Manishtana, the four. This is beautiful. When we have kids, and this year, Baruch Hashem, we're going to have my son Mendel and Shane and his wife Shana, their kids at our table. We're going to have Esty and the boy that just had his haircut, his Abshurnish. So
Baruch Hashem.
they're going to be at our table, so it's going to be something beautiful. And we're going to go with each kid. Now, sometimes they're a little embarrassed, so, we don't make a big deal. But if they have the confidence, which usually they do, they sing the Manishtana, and it's beautiful. And then we all sing it together. Any questions on that?
Rabbi, would you by any chance be having a PDF of the Manish Tama's Yiddish version?
I definitely have it at home.
Alrighty. Cool. Thank you.
Definitely have it at home. Okay. Then we bring this. So Manishtana is 4 questions, right? So now we got to give the answers. Now comes Abadim Ayinu L'Pera B'Mitzrayim. Then we come with the answers. Start that we were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt until God liberated us from what's called a strong hand and outstretched arm. Basically, a lot of miracles, right?
So before we start the story, we uncover the matzah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, at that point, because now you uncover the matzah, because the matzah, you're talking, so to speak, of the matzah, right? What I mean, you're talking of the matzah, because the matzah, as we learned Sunday's class, if you remember Sunday's class, the matzah is the embodiment of going out of Egypt, right? Which maybe we'll go into next week again, just a brief reminder of that when we go into, more deeper understandings. Here we're going into more technicals, so make sure that we do things, because as we learn in Tanya's chapter 35 through 37, the deed is of utmost importance to create a dwelling place for Hashem. So we need to just do it, do the mitzvah in the technical way that it's supposed to be done, specifically leaning. By the way, I forgot to mention, when you're eating the carpus, you don't lean, right? You don't. I forgot to mention that earlier, right? All the details. You might say, like, what's the big deal? It's sort of like the spirit. No, it's not about the spirit. Yes, you should be spirited that evening, not because of the wine, but because it's Pesach. It's Pesach night. It's Seder night in Canada. Right. It's for that matter the world over. So it's not about the spirit. It's about doing things the way you're supposed to do it. Right? Because when you do it properly, you draw down the infinite light of God through what you're going to do. And if you do it just, with the thought that counts, then you're not going to draw the light of God into your life and into the world. Or you might in some manner, but not in a full manner. So it's very important that we know the technicalities of things over here. Now, don't get crazy over it. Oh, I didn't uncover the matzah. Well, what's going to be now? Everything's going to be okay. Don't worry. Right? Don't worry. Uh-oh. What happened? I broke the matzah, 6 pieces, not 5. The Rebbe Rashab actually put aside the 6th piece and didn't use it. But don't fret. Don't, like, it's important, and it is important. It is to be taken seriously, but not to be taken in a way that sort of like you lose the spirit. Do it with the spirit, right? But yeah, being meticulous. Being meticulous. Okay, so we begin with the answer, Avadim Ayinu, with being slaves to Hashem, right? And then we tell about how important telling over the story is. We tell about the 5 rabbis, that they spent the whole night, and that's how important it is, that we should also spend our time doing it, telling the story, and so on. Then we come to the 4 children of the Seder. So first we ask the question. We start with the answer. We give a brief answer about being slaves. God took us out, right? And then from there we go of how important it is to tell the story, and the more you tell the story, the more praiseworthy it is, right? And then we go, well, who's the story being told to? And we go to the 4 children, 4, right? Torah speaks about 4 different kinds of kids. One that is bright, inquisitive kind of kid, one who is temporarily wicked, one who's simple, and one who just doesn't know how to ask. Chacham, Rasha, Tam, Sheni Yedei Elisha, right? Now, the significance over here we'll go into next week, of a deeper understanding and meaning. But now we go and speak about who's the story for? Well, if you look in the Torah, right, and the Hasidic discourse that we're learning 7:05 in the morning, which I invite you all at that godly hour. It's very godly. Some people call it ungodly. I don't know what that means. When you sleep with God. So it's not ungodly. So we're learning based on the verse in Deuteronomy that says, he got the bincha mochar, tell to your child tomorrow, right? And I'm sorry, I misquoted it. I started in the middle. Kishalcha bincha mochar, when your child will ask you tomorrow. Tomorrow means after time. What are the 3 different categories of laws? Testimonies, statutory laws, and ordinances that Hashem our God has commanded you. And then goes on and tells, right? So that's speaking about the Chacham, wise son. Anyways, at 4 different places in Torah, it speaks about when your child will ask. So it's in reference to the Seder night, right? And it's in reference 4 different kind of questions. Why? Because 4 different kind of temperaments of children at the table, right? The Chacham Rasha, Tam, Sheni Dilisha. Okay?
Yes, Rabbi.
Then we go into, okay, now we know who we're talking to, but when should we talk about this? So you might think from Rosh Chodesh, no, it's got to be. You might think it's by day. No, it's got to be at night. So again, if the Seder is Monday night, and if you're gathering the family together at 6:30 in the evening, which is already late for some kids, right? And you begin the Seder then and you finish by 8 o'clock, you haven't done anything as far as mitzvahs. It might be great family time. It might be very nice, warm, engaging, meaningful conversation. But mitzvahs you haven't fulfilled. You haven't fulfilled any mitzvahs. And the proof is, you know what you have to do that night after 8:30? Start all over again, literally. Tell the story, Now, there are things that you could leave out in order just to, to fulfill the certain things, but you'd have to drink the 4 cups of wine. You'd have to eat your matzah. I mean, we didn't get there yet, but some of the storyline, if you did it earlier, there's a certain part that I'm going to show you soon that is incumbent, that everybody should engage, that everybody must participate in, right? And then we begin that we were first, steeped in idolatry, and God got this guy called Abraham, recognized God, and then we go into covering the matzah. We lift up our cup of wine and we say, "V'hi sheyam da'olam v'seinu v'elohanu." There's another melody. V'hi sheyamda, v'hi sheyamda. Anyways, there's different tunes for that. And this is proclaiming that, and this is the promise that has stood for our ancestors and for us, because they're not just one nation alone has arisen against us to wipe us out. We know, boy, this takes on different meaning this year. Yeah. But in every generation, there are those who stand up against to wipe us out. And each time the Holy One, blessed be He, saves us from their hand. And we'll do more on that next week. But that's sort of like you're holding on to the cup. Why? To give greater emphasis to it, covering the matzah and giving it, it's sort of like, take heed. This is important. Hey, we Jews go through this all the time. Every generation. So now we have a new hater. And then we go back into the story. Now, what I would suggest is, if you have a lot of people around the table, if you have, half a dozen people, a dozen, or 20 people, whatever you have, what we do, and you could do as you please, is we go around the table and ask everybody to take a paragraph and read whatever language you're comfortable with. Most people read it in English because for them to read it in Hebrew, it would be difficult for them. And we go around, everybody participates that way. And I might throw out some questions, or I might throw out some color commentary, as they call it, right? In order to a little, understanding of different things. Okay. Then we come to spilling wine. Some people have the custom of taking the wine with their pinky and spilling it this way. Chabad custom is we don't do that. First of all, we don't want to have any contact with our hands with food. Just, maybe there's some chametz or something, right? So we're careful with that. And we just spill from the cup. Spill from the cup. So here, dam, va'esh, v'simrei sashad. Blood and fire and pillars of smoke, as tall as date palms. Wait. Now, the cup that you have should be on a plate. Okay, that's important because you're going to now pour into some kind of plate. Okay, and then we go through the 10 plagues. If we go dam, tzvardeya, kini, morav, deber, right, and we're pouring out a little touch each time for the 10 plagues. Then we do it with an acronym, Datzah, Chadash, Bachab. Okay, that's just how we do it. Okay, there's different things again. I'm not going to go and explain everything. Then we come the song Die Yenu, Die Yenu, Die Yenu, Die Yenu, Die Yenu, Die Yenu, Die Yenu. Right. So we sing, we go through all the stanzas, and last time we sing Dayenu. Okay. Now, this is the essentials over here. Okay. So if someone is at a Seder that's going to be finishing before nightfall, so you need to, as I mentioned, to eat the matzah after nightfall. Really don't eat it before nightfall and then eat it again after nightfall. Just don't eat it before nightfall. Okay. And now after nightfall, remember there's the main mitzvah is matzah. We didn't get to matzah yet, right? What is the mitzvah we're doing now? Is telling the story. That's another biblical, right? Igad the bincha, tell your child. What happens if you don't have a child to tell to? Guess what? You're also a child, right? You're someone's child. So tell it to you. You're all alone? Well, tell yourself the story. You're a child. Okay? You're someone's child. You're God's child for sure. So you have to do it even alone. So this is essential. Rabbi Gamliel said, everyone who did mention these three things did not fulfill their duty. What is it? Pesach, Maror, Matzah Maror. Right? Paschal lamb offering, matzah, the eating of matzah, and Maror, bitter herbs. Okay? And then we go through each one. Then we go through each one. Right? We explain why are we doing it. Pesach on the Passover is a Passover offering that our ancestors ate at the time when the Holy Temple was standing. This is what it's all about. What was that all about? Sorry, it's a question I see. It was because Pesach means oh, that's better. Yeah.
You can see.
Now you can see, huh? Yeah, you can read it now? Okay. Pesach means to skip over. And the one who encompasses everything skipped over our ancestors' houses in Egypt when they were about to leave Egypt. Moses told how to explain eating matzah on Passover to future generations. He said, you shall say, it is a Pesach offering to God because he skipped over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt when he struck the Egyptians with a plague and saved our houses, and the people bowed and prostrated themselves. Right? So we point to the, what do we point to? There's Roya on the top right. We point to, I think, yeah. And everybody needs to say it. Hear that, folks? Don't let the reader in the home, or if you're going around the table and it happens to be someone else's turn, you need to read this part. I mean, you have to verbalize it. The mitzvah in telling the story is not reading it with your eyes. It's to verbalize it. Very important. Just like a bracha needs to be verbalized, this needs to be verbalized. Now, it should be the entire Haggadah, but this part is essential. Now, there's the rest of Haggadah, you should also verbalize it. I verbalize every word. I don't, I don't suffice with hearing it. When you're hearing the Megillah, you can suffice by just hearing it. But the Haggadah, no. The word Haggadah means to tell. So you got to tell the story. Well, how do you tell? You don't tell something by reading it. You tell it by verbalizing it. Even if you're alone. You think, what's the big deal? Actually, in the Pesach, we don't point to these, right? Yeah. When it comes to matzah, then we hold on to, or we point to the matzah. And this matzah, what is it all about? It's because the dough, their answers hadn't enough time to rise. And suddenly the King of Kings, holy and blessed be he, revealed himself to them and liberated them. Just like it says in the story. They baked matzah from the dough that they had brought out of Egypt. Because it hadn't become chametz because they had been chased out of Egypt, didn't have a chance to stick around waiting for the dough to rise. They didn't even have time to pack it. Anything else to eat. Right? So you just point to the matzah, say it, and again, verbalize it. And the final thing is maror, the bitter herbs. This bitter herb vegetable that we eat, what is it about? Right? Again, you put your hand over the maror, and then after that, saying this, you take away your hand. Because the Egyptians embittered the lives of our ancestors in Egypt, just like it says in the story, they embittered their lives with hard work, with mortar and with bricks and all kinds of field work. Everything that they had made them to do was to break them. Then we say also this is important. And behold, Adam, in every single generation, every person has to see himself, him or herself, as though he or she actually went out of Egypt. Where was the cursor over here? Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, every generation you have to see as if you went out of Egypt. Okay. Then we finish and we now gonna make the blessing. We cover the matzah, lift a cup of wine, and we say a few things of praise. And then finally we come to make the blessing. This is a blessing over the second cup, right? The first cup was sanctifying the day. The first cup was to sanctify the day, like Kiddush we make on Shabbos, right, or any holiday. The second cup is for telling the story, which we finished now, right? We say a whole thing about the holiday, and then we make a very Priya Guffin. And what do we do? What do we do? We recline on our left side and drink Chabad custom, the whole cup. Minimally, try to drink half a cup. Now, if you got a 10-ounce cup, then you don't need to. Yeah, we try to get like 5-ounce cups. So that way, if you drink half of it, it's also good. So now you finished. Now rachza. You wash your hands. And by the way, you make now bracha al netilat yadayim because now you're going to make a motzi. Now you're coming to the most important mitzvah of the night, eating matzah.
You're making a motzi on matzah. You make the motzi on matzah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay. Ugh. Okay, so what are you doing over here, folks? So this is very important that you get this straight. And because Because what's going to happen here, it's a little, there's three things. We wash and eat matzah. Then we're going to have bitter herbs, and then we're going to have the kairach, which is the sandwich, right? After that, you're full, right? Okay, you have the Seder plate in front of you. You have the matzah, and you're going to be doing now. You're going to wash. Don't talk, of course, after washing. Make sure your hands are dry, perfectly dry. Another Hasidic custom, not just Chabad, and many people hold this custom that they don't wet their matzah, so we make sure your hands are dry. Then you have to make a motzi lechem min haaretz. So motzi lechem means he brings bread out of the earth. Well, this is lechem. This is bread, right? And Torah calls it lechem oni. We think bread is a puffed up, Wonder Bread, right? No, that's not bread. Bread means flour and water, right? There's leavened bread and unleavened bread. Tonight we're having unleavened bread, but it's still a motzi lechem min haaretz. It's still God who makes it that it comes out of the earth. Bread, because where did it come from? It's a grain that comes from the earth. So it's a motzi lechem.
This is the first time in the Seder also that we're eating the matzah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Till now we didn't, right? Right. This is the most important mitzvah besides telling the story. This is this is more important than even telling the story because, and again, important that you have the hand-baked shmur matzah. So you make a motzi lechem haaretz. You're holding all three matzahs because when you make a motzi, right, we have two loaves on Shabbos. Why do we have two loaves on Shabbos? Because we want to remember the manna on Friday that when the Jews were in the desert, they had a double portion, right? So you're holding the two. But that's making a blessing over eating food. That's not a blessing over mitzvah, right? So when and if it was a regular Shabbos and it was bread, finish. You made a motzi. Don't do anything else. Now eat, right? But now we have a mitzvah to do. What's that? Eating matzah. So now we make a bracha. Asher kirishana b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu ala chilat matzah. That he was made us holy and with his mitzvahs commanded us concerning eating matzah.
So we can't talk, but we can say the bracha.
Yeah. You like regular, like any motzi, right? You don't talk. So here you don't talk. Someone does talk concerning what they're doing, then they don't have to. It's okay. We're doing two blessings. That's right? But I want you to make sure that it's clear. Why are we doing two blessings? One is for any food that you eat, you have a pleasure from. You make a blessing, right? Like on Shabbos. But now with this matzah that we're eating is a mitzvah matzah. So you have to make a blessing on that. Now what we do is we drop the bottom matzah and we only make the blessing on the top two. Okay?
The broken piece.
And the whole top one, exactly. Got that? Is Henry on here? I didn't see him. No. Okay. You're good.
Yes, Rabbi.
I wrote notes.
Yes. Good notes. Okay. Everybody, we're good so far? Excellent. Okay. So you're dropping the bottom matzah because the matzah mitzvah is only on the first two, not the bottom one. We'll see. Right? On the first two. 1.5 actually, right? And then for yourself, so if you have a Seder plate, then the preferred way is, because there's a doubt of which is the mitzvah matzah, top one or the middle one. I'm not going to go into that. So what we do is we take from both. But that's all, and eat from both. So you're going to eat what's left of the middle one that's broken, and a similar size you'll eat from the top one. Reclining on your left side. eating it like a madman, so you can get it done in 6 minutes. 8 max. If you eat it leisurely, you don't fulfill the mitzvah because you won't eat in enough time. You need to like focus. We don't talk during that time. We don't drink water if you need to drink water even. So you got to be careful. I munch and munch and munch, and I don't swallow till my mouth is full. Some opinions say that you only start timing from when you actually swallow. It's 6 to 8 minutes. Now, those who don't have a Seder plate, like the women, right? They only need to have less than a half a matzah, like around a half a matzah. Right. It still take, if you eat it leisurely, it might take you 20 minutes to eat it. Right. But if you got to concentrate on it. The point is you got to concentrate on the eating. Those of a Seder plate, they have double the amount because they're taken from 2, right? So that makes it just more, but you're right, a regular, it's not difficult. It's not difficult, but it's only some people, whatever, they just, eat it leisurely. So what I do, well, yeah, if it's just 2 people, then you're gonna, but no, then you can take from, you don't have to take from you can take outside from, you can take from the other matzah. Doesn't have to be from Seder plate.
Oh, I see.
You can take from other matzah. That's not a problem. What I do is, as I prepare on the eve, and I'm going to need some help from you guys on the eve of Pesach. We measure out the matzah.
Oh,
Okay.
Measure
I
out the
didn't think
matzah.
I didn't think it was our tradition to have a Seder plate per se. I thought it was like because we put it in bowls or plates, and we put it. But
What do you mean?
well, we don't have an actual Seder plate. It's just the Seder plate, but it's on different like plates or bowls, but not one that has little indentation, whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, Chabad custom is, yeah, we don't have like a silver plate or something
Right,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
but it's still a Seder plate because
yeah,
you're putting it on top of the matzahs.
yeah,
I put it directly with napkins directly on
right. That's
my
what we do.
on
Yeah,
my matzah decal, my matzah cover.
yeah,
I put it directly. Yeah,
right. That's what we do. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's particularly a Chabad custom.
right. Well, it's a Chabad Seder.
Yeah. Yes. But okay, so now coming to eating the matzah, again reclining. And so what I do is, we have, 20, 30, we have 20, 30 people around the table. We give out plastic bags, pre-measured matzah, and everybody, I tell them, eat what's in there. Whatever you got, that's meant for your mitzvah. Right? And that way, so, we pre-measure it. Reclining on your left side. Then comes the bitter leaves for eating. And here everyone should take just over half an ounce, 17 grams of maror. Dip it into charosis, into the, and pour some of the wine then or earlier. Dip it in and make the blessing on the mitzvah that God commanded us to eat bitter herbs, bitter vegetables, right?
Is that what they call the Hillel sandwich? Or
No, that's next. That's not a sandwich. This is just romaine lettuce with horseradish.
okay, I remember about the matzah with I think it was.
Yeah, wait, you don't get ahead of yourself.
Okay, bye.
We're not, that's next. That's next. Now, when we don't recline because it's bitter herbs. Remember, reclining is a sign of wealth, a sign of kingship. So, it's kings, that's how they ate. When you see them, Cleopatra, they're lying on their reclining beds, or like sofas, and they're, with the grapes over them and being fed, So that reclining on our left side, not our right side, our left side, not healthy on the right side. So we don't recline over here. Bitter herbs. Then Elisa's favorite, kairich, the bitter herbs that you take with matzah. So you take 2 pieces of matzah, right? I call this the Hillel, because Hillel is one who introduces. And even though the Earl of Sandwich is the one who invented the sandwich, because he was the Earl of Sandwich. But there's someone that predated him about 1,500 years. His name was Hillel. Hillel said, he used to take matzah to make a sandwich, and in between it was the maror. So I call it the Hillel, right? And then you say, this is what Hillel did in the time when the temple was standing. He would wrap matzah, Pesach, maror, matzah, maror, and eat them together, just as it says on matzah and bitter herbs. They will eat it. And now you lean on your left side and eat it. Okay? This is, you're taking the bitter herbs. This is on the bottom of the Seder plate, right? You had bitter herbs in the middle, and this is on the bottom. You're taking those bitter herbs from the Seder plate. Again, you have people around the table, you have other bitter herbs for them outside of the Seder plate. Seder plate cannot suffice for everybody. It's really meant for only one person. Okay? We're careful that the maror, the bitter herbs, the horse, not the, I mean the romaine lettuce is not wet, because we don't want to wet our matzah. That's the custom by many, not to wet matzah. Recline on your left side, eat it again within the 6 to 8 minutes, right? And that you're taking from the third matzah, right? From the Seder plate. From the third matzah, you're taking it. You're taking less than a half of the matzah, splitting it into 2, because you want to make a sandwich out of it, right? You want to make a hillel out of it. You have to split it into 2, and then put in between. Dip into charaisis again, and you say this. Then we come to what some people is their favorite. Now, at our table, this is going to happen probably around 11:30 at night. Shulchan Aruch, festive meal. At this point, you're pretty full. Chabad custom is that we eat. The first thing we eat is, no, that's the last thing we eat. First thing we eat is the hard-boiled egg. Korban chagiga, right? And we give out hard-boiled eggs everywhere on the table, and dip it into salt water, right?
Rabbi, a question. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry for backtracking. Korba Chagig is the offering for the Chagim, like
Yeah. Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Chagiga, chag.
Chag.
Chag means holiday.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the korban, the sacrifice of the holiday.
Hmm.
It is exemplified on the Seder plate with a hard-boiled egg.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And we eat that by the meal, because that sacrifice was eaten. Okay.
Yeah.
Finish your meal before midnight, especially the first night before midnight, Jewish midnight. You know what Jewish midnight is?
4 a.m.
That's wishful thinking. That's real manipulation of time. Jewish midnight right now, today, is 12:54 a.m. because we base it on how many hours are between nightfall or sunset and sunrise. Divide that time into 12 hours. Divide the day into 12 hours, right? And that's what's going to give you, right? So it's not going to be midnight. Midnight is if 6 p.m., 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., then 12 a.m. is midnight, right? If sunrise was 6 a.m. and sunset was 6 p.m., then midnight would be 12, right? But if sunrise is 6:30 and sunset is 7:30, then you're going to have a different equation, what's called midnight, right? That clear? The first night, we're very careful to eat afikomen, which is called safon, right? Which is the 5 pieces that you put away before Jewish midnight. So approximately a few minutes to 1. The first night in particular, very careful. Because the sacrifice, this is the Paschal Lamb sacrifice, right? It's the last thing to be eaten. Can't have dessert after this, right? Eat dessert in the meal beforehand. Okay? So this is also reclining, and you're eating approximately like less than half a matzah. Like maybe a third. It says here actually, maybe a quarter. Okay, of a typical shmur matzah. Okay, then you're gonna do benching, beirach. You're gonna thank God for the meal. Pour your third cup of wine. You're gonna do benching over a third cup. Women also do, right? Everybody. You're gonna do Shiramalais, right? Shiramalais, Bishuvat. That's even when you're gonna wash my machrenim on the tips of your fingers, you don't put it on your lips. Why? How come? Because maybe you have some matzah left over here and you're going to get it wet. We don't want to wet the matzah.
Okay.
Then we do a zoom in, and we thank Hashem. After thanking Hashem, guess what? What do you think? What's going to happen? The suspense is great. Oh, you poured a cup of wine, you got to drink it. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam v'irei pri hagafen. And then what? Then what? Recline on your left side. Very good. Look at that. Finally, by the third cup already, you're in your right mind. Gonna recline and drink the cup, right? A full cup if you can. Now, again, if you need to mix a little grape juice in there because whatever, if you can go, women in particular, any person who has an issue with alcohol, and they want to be not a problem, drink grape juice. Then we take during when it's on Shabbos, we take a candle and we go to the door and we invite Elijah the prophet. Actually, I forgot we pour another cup for Elijah the prophet, 5th cup, right? We pour it for him, and then we open the door and let him come in. Guess what? He comes. Guess what? You could know that he's there. Just look at the wine. You see that it's shaking and some of it's falls out. That's only because Hamid is going to knock the table. Right?
I'll try not to, Rabbi.
All right, and then we pour and then God pours His wrath on the nations for all their wonderful things that they're deserved of. And there's probably not a nation today that isn't deserved of what's going on, unfortunately. As the Jewish people have and will dwell alone because no one's backing us. And then we go to Hallel and Nirtzah. We praise God. We say praise of Hallel, like from the Hallel prayer, which is from Psalms of King David, Psalms 1, I think it's 114 through 118 or something, 19, 1. And with that, we sing other praises of Hashem. Haidul Hashem ki hitan ki layalam chazai yemena Yisrael ki layalam chazai. Oh no, okay, that's not this one actually. God, please help us right now. Right? That's all from Hallel and songs of Hallel. Right? Follow your Haggadah. Hashem ki le'alam chazdai. Nishbas kol chai, which we sing on Shabbos right before Yishtab, or we go to Shechanad. And guess what? This is the final blessing on the holiday. We sing, that's what we say every day, Yishtabach, right? Before we say the Baruch Hu every day. Yishtabach, Shimcha, Load, Malkeinu, Akel, Amelech, Hagadol, Ve'akadesh, V'ashamayim, U'ba'aretz, Ki Lecha, Noeh Hashem. And we finish the blessing, and guess what? We drink the fourth cup. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech ha'olam b'orei pri hagafen. And then, all right, we lean on our left side, and we drink the wine. Then we make the after blessing, and then the custom is to take Eliyahu's wine, the fifth cup, and the Alter Rebbe would pour back the wine into the, right, because it wasn't drunk. I mean, Eliyahu, if he drank it, his spirit drank it, we could still pour it back. We pour back into the bottle, and we sing Keliyata ve'yodeka Elaika yarai memeka Keliyata and after we pour it, we all scream out together, Leshana Haba Yerushalayim. Next, we're in Jerusalem. And by the way, if you are in Jerusalem right now, or you're going to be there for the holiday, you still say it. You know why? Because that's not the Jerusalem we're looking to have. We're looking to Jerusalem with Mashiach. That Jerusalem. Okay.
Amen. Amen.
So we don't eat or drink after that, right? If you really must have some water, okay, because we want to leave the taste of the afikoman, and we definitely don't eat anything. And who could eat anything at that point? If you could, I don't know. That means you didn't eat enough matzah or mora before. Yeah. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Those are all the...
Well, I want to thank you. And I wanted to just throw out, because I live in a really rural area. And what Chabad has done for me for about 20 years is send me shmura matzah. So I just wanted to throw that out, that if we're in a place where you can't get anything, anything.
How about kosher wine or grape juice? Can you get that?
Walmart, don't laugh. Walmart carries Manischewitz. We don't know why, but because like
I know for you.
exactly. But yeah, and I can order things online. You can order almost anything online. I
Oh,
get
that's true.
matzo ball mix, from Walmart.com online. But shmura matzah, if you reach out to your local Chabad,
Yes.
they will send it, and it often comes from the Ukraine. It's quite.
The matzah I have is from the Ukraine. Exactly.
Sometimes it comes from Israel. Sometimes it comes from the Ukraine.
Yeah, we get from the Ukraine.
Morgantown, which is like 5 hours from us. I've never been there, but I have them on speed dial. And the rabbi there, Rabbi Gorevich, is very kind in the Shmura Matzah department.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm sending out to Sylvie, to Abigail's. Yeah. All right, folks. Thank you for sharing. All right, next week we'll go into some of the deeper ideas. But first, we need to go through all the technicalities, make sure that we do things, in the most appropriate, best way. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
God bless.
Laila Tov.
Sure.
I also have that Haggadah at home. I'm seeing it now in your library.
Which Haggadah?
This one, the white one, that's the one I have at home.
One second.
Is that the Chabad one?